Okay, Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhuta Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shwapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Shahagana Ragnatam Vidantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakantika He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesa Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namoste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam haikirim Yat kripa tamhang vande Sri Gurun Dinatatam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Hare Krishna. So, welcome back to our regular Bhakti Sastri class. So today we continue our discussion on the nectar of devotion. So hopefully we can cover chapter 2 and 3 on this section. Hare Krishna. So in the previous class, we have discussed the first chapter entitled The Characteristic of Pure Devotional Service. So there are 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. All of you supposed to well versed with these 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Yeah. Klesagni, Subhada, Moksha, Lagutakrit, Sudurlabha, Sandrananda, Vishesatma, Sri Krishna, Karsini, Chasa. Yeah. So it is interesting. Srila Prabhupada emphasize more, giving more elaboration on the Kleshagni, or relief from material suffering. So there, Srila Prabhupada mentioned and explained actually that the cause of our suffering, first one is called prarabdha. So prarabdha means the fructified result or the manifested reaction. That's how we are suffering. And before that prarabdha, there is something called aprarabdha. That means still unmanifest. So the reaction which yet to come, that is called aprarabdha. And how this aprarabdha come? It comes from papa, sinful activities. Papa. And then how sinful activities come? It comes from kutam. Kutam means desire to sin, or sometimes it is called also bijam or seed. So the seed of sinful activities is actually the desire to sin. After we commit some sinful activities, not immediately we will get the result of that our misbehaving, but it will be in the form of unmanifest reaction. So it will wait for some time to fructify, to be mature, just like fruit. If you read actually in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, text number 2, Srila Prabhupada giving the example just like a mango tree. So not that immediately as soon as we plant the seed, mango seed, immediately we can enjoy the mango fruit. It takes some time. So that's how it goes actually. We commit sinful activities because we have some desire to commit some sinful activities. That is called bijam or kutam. So papam, sinful activities itself, and then aprarabdha. So the tree is growing now, but not yet giving fruit. That is called aprarabdha. And then prarabdha, it's manifest, the fruit, we enjoy or suffer, yeah, accordingly. And then Srila Prabhupada also explained how do we have this desire to sin, and that comes actually because of the ignorance, avidya. Avidya is the root cause of why we are committing sinful activities, and as a result of that, we are suffering. So this is the chronological, you can say chronological, because it's all connected. And the first thing, the root is that avidya or ignorance. So the main idea of ignorance is that when we want to enjoy separately from Krishna, because our constitutional position is to serve Krishna, Swarupa Jivir Hoy, Krishna Ranityadas, because we envy Lord Krishna to be God. We also want to be God. We want to control. That's why we find in so many purports or Srila Prabhupada's lecture, he mentioned that because we have the desire to lord it over the material nature, that is called avidya. Avidya of our constitutional position as Krishna's eternal servant. Then we come here to this material world. Yeah. So avidya is the root cause of our material suffering. All right. So in that base, we shall continue to the second chapter. So second chapter entitled The First Stages of Devotions, of Devotion. The three categories of devotional service are described with particular emphasis on sadhana bhakti. One's eligibility for practicing sadhana bhakti is attraction to pleasing Krishna. And the most important part of this process is to always remember Krishna and never forget. Of course, we have a lot of discussion on this, the Bhagavad Gita section. So Srila Prabhupada writes, the three categories of devotional service, which Srila Rupa Goswami describes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, are listed as devotional service in practice, that is known as sadhana bhakti, devotional service in ecstasy or bhava bhakti, and devotional service in pure love of Godhead. This is called prema bhakti. So, three stages of devotional service: sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prema bhakti. But in this chapter, Srila Prabhupada elaborate more in the sadhana bhakti, because we are mostly situated in this level of being sadhaka. Sadhaka means one who is practicing sadhana. So sadhana bhakti. It is interesting that in these three, what do you call this, stages of devotional service, three categories of devotional service, namely sadhana, bhava, and prema. So it is connected to the previous chapter. So in the sadhana bhakti, the first two characteristic mentioned out of the six, namely the klesagni and subhada, they are manifested in the sadhana level, in the category of sadhana bhakti. And then in the bhava bhakti, one will manifest the first four characteristic of your devotional service, namely Vaisagni, Subhada, Moksha, and Sudurlabha. And then on the prema level, on the prema bhakti, all the six characteristics are manifested in full. Yeah. So that was described there by our Acharya. All right. Practice means employing our senses in some particular type of work. Therefore, devotional service in practice means utilizing our different sensory organs in service to Krishna. So it is interesting. Practice means when we employ our senses. So we are using our senses, our sensory organs, our body, our part of the body in serving Krishna. This is called sadhana or practice. So there are two types of sadhana bhakti. I believe that all of us, all of us mostly familiar with it, with these two types of sadhana bhakti. So the first one is that YD sadhana bhakti. Mm. So YD sadhana bhakti, Srila Prabhupada explained like this: service according to regulative principles. One has to follow these different regulative principles by the order of the spiritual master or on the strength of unauthoritative, on the strength of authoritative scriptures, and there can be no question of refusal. So this is called YD. YD means we are following rules and regulation. We are following the order of the spiritual master without fail. We cannot refuse this. We shouldn't refuse. Just like following the daily schedule in the sadhana bhakti, like what normally we have in ISKCON. Get up early in the morning for Mangala Arati, attending some different programs. So this is called uh, YD, YD sadhana bhakti. And in this level, we actually still forcing ourselves. For us, it is still like foreign thing. It is unnatural for us. We are forcing ourselves to get up early in the morning. Like we are putting alarm. For example, we put our alarm at 4 o'clock in the morning. So we force ourselves. But as we are keep going, keep doing it, so the another type of sadhana bhakti will manifest naturally, called Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada explained, Raganuga refers to the point at which, by following the regulative principles, that means by doing the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, one becomes a little more attached to Krishna and execute devotional service out of natural love. So, for example, like uh, getting up early in the morning, for Mangalarati. So in the YD level, we're still forcing ourselves, like it's so hard, But in the Raganuga level, so for us, getting up early in the morning, even without alarm, is something natural, and we like it, we love it. For example, also just like when we go out for Harinam Sankirtan or distributing books, for us, in the beginning, we feel like a little bit reluctant, a little bit like, oh, this is kind of burden, I'm not get used of it. But as we are doing, we start loving it. We love it. We get used of it. And for us, it becomes something that natural. And when we do it, we feel happy. So this is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Just like here in Mayapur, many foreign devotees, in the beginning when they come, they don't get used to eat so much spicy shada, for example. But as they're staying here, for years and years, and finally they get used of it. And yeah, they like spicy prasadam, they eat a lot of rice. Yeah, mostly the foreign devotees from the West, normally they eat bread like this. But when they live here in India, so for them now rice is like daily consumption. So, and they love it, and they love chili also. So we can understand that as we are doing it, we start loving it. Just like let's take the example like when we are riding a bicycle. Yeah. So to start this bicycle, we have to push a little bit. We have to push. But when it's already when it's running, so sometimes even without cycling, still the bicycle runs. So if we see also in the life of the non-devotees, for example, like those who love to smoke cigarette. So in the beginning, the first cigarette, they may cough. They may cough when they just suck the first smoke. They may cough. They don't like it. But as that person continuing smoking cigarette, so for them that's like enjoyment. They love it. So bhakti also like that. We get attached because we keep going. because the Chetodarpana process, the cleaning of the heart taking place. And as we are chanting, just like following four regulative principles in the beginning, for us it's too hard, really hard. What to speak of no meat eating, it's really hard for the beginners to give up coffee, to give up tea, to give up onion and garlic. It's so hard for us in the beginning. But as we are doing, and also followed by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and engaging ourselves. So Sarvapadi Vinir Muktam Tat Parat Vena Nirmalam. So the senses becomes purified. Tat Parat Vena Nirmalam. Our senses becomes purified, and we no longer have any attraction to that mundane taste like onion and garlic, tea or coffee. So these are two types of sadhana bhakti: Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana. So Prabhupada continues, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us an authorized program for this purpose, centered around the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. This chanting has so much power that it immediately attaches one to Krishna. That is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. Yeah, that is the beginning of sadhana bhakti, is the chanting of the holy name. Etavane valokesmin pumsam dharma parasrita bhakti yogo bhagavati tanama grahana adi. Adi means the beginning. How bhakti yoga start? Bhakti yoga bhagavati. Bhakti yoga to Bhagavan, service to the Lord, start by tanama grahana. Start by accepting His holy name, accepting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We start to chant. Of course, before we start to chant, somehow or other, some way, by meeting some devotees, by chance maybe, we heard the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, yeah? Or we read somewhere the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we got information, then we start chanting, we accept it. So the moment we start chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that's how actually the bhakti to Krishna begins. Tanama Grahana Adi. Well, if I say that bhakti begins, it means that we are uh, reviving. Yeah, we are reviving that dormant love for Krishna, because eternally bhakti is already there in everybody's heart. It's just question of when we awake again, when we can awaken again this bhakti, because bhakti is already eternally invested, even in the heart of a dog, because everybody is eternally Krishna's servant. Nitya Sita Krishna Prem Shadya Prabhunoy Sravanadi Sudachite Karaya Udoy. So Karaya Udhoy means it start again, it's revive again when we start hearing and chant Krishna's name, because it is eternally there. So when we say that is the beginning, that refers to the beginning of reviving our eternal service to the Lord. Okay, the most basic of all regulative principles. So what is the most basic of all regulative principles? Anybody would like to contribute on this? The most basic of all regulative principles. Those who have read this chapter, they must be knowing it. Hare Krishna. There are two rules mentioned. Or should I call upon somebody? Let's see who are there. Maybe Parasuram Prabhu. We see your face here. So you just need to unmute and please let us know what is the most basic of all regulative principles.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhu, to always remember Krishna and never forget him.
Mm. So yeah, thank you very much. These are the two rules. The two rules, and it is described in Etayor Eva Kinkara. Any other rules, becoming the servant of these two rules. Kinkara means servant. Yeah, here it is. Smartavya satatam Vishnu, Vismartavyo na jatuchit. So this, the first one, Smartavya satatam Vishnu. Always remember Vishnu or Krishna. And then Vismartavyo na jatuchit, and never forget him. Sarve vidhi, that means all rules and regulation. Sarve vidhi nishedashur etayar eva kinkara. Meant to serve these two rules. Yeah, this is from the Padma Purana. The Padma Purana recommends somehow or other always think of Vishnu without forgetting him under any circumstances. Actually, this is the most basic of all regulative principles. For when, when there is an order from a superior about doing something, there is simultaneously a prohibition. When the order is that one should always remember Krishna, the prohibition is that one should never forget him. Hmm. Within this simple order and prohibition, all regulative principles are found complete. Interesting here. That's like the six characteristic of fully surrender or saranagati, described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. What is that? What is the first symptoms, the characteristic? Accepting whatever favorable. And then the second one is that to reject whatever unfavorable. Uh, what do you call this in Sanskrit?
अनुकूलस्य संकल्पस्य वर्जितम्. Is it?
Sorry, bro. Anukulya sankalpa pratikulya savajava. Yes. Thank you very much, Swarup Siddhi Prabhu. Yeah. Anukulyasha sankalpa. Anukul means favorable. And pratikul means not favorable. That's why anukulyena Krishna anushilana. We have to serve Krishna in a favorable way. Yeah, thank you. So the first two, anukulyasa sankalpa pratikulyasa varjava. Just like this, Always remember Krishna. That's favorable. And what is the not favorable one? To forget Krishna. So we have to reject it. We have to reject forgetting Krishna. That means never we forget Krishna. Just like in the Upadesmrita, what is that? The second and the third text actually. The second and the third slokas describing of these two. The second one is that atyahara prayasacha. These are the pratikul. And then the third sloka mentioning that usahanischayadarya, that is the anukul. So in the second verse of the Upadesmrita, it is described that we have to avoid the association of mundane people, jana sanghasya. Then in the third one, that we have to what is that? Usahanischayadarya, tatat karma pravatana, sangha. Oh no, that's the sangha tyaga means to avoid. Sangha tyaga means to avoid the association of the non-devotees. Sangha tyaga. Atyahara prayasha prajalpo niyamagraha. Jana sangascha laulamcha. So jana sangascha laulamcha. So these are by associating with the non-devotees. Sadbir Bhakti Vinashyati, our bhakti will be destroyed. So we have to avoid the association of the non-devotees. And then Jana Sangasha means associating with the non-devotees. Sangha Tyaga means we avoid the association of non-devotees. So we'll talk more when we reach to the Upadesh Brita. So these are the most basic of all regulative principles. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. And all our activities actually in our sadhana bhakti meant to achieve to this conclusion. Why we are chanting the holy names? Because by chanting the holy names, we can remember Krishna. Why we are engaging our different senses in different services. For example, in temple, why we are performing arati, why we are cooking for Krishna, why we are cleaning the temple. All these things actually meant to help us to concentrate our mind in thinking of Krishna. If this injunction is followed, then all other rules and regulation will automatically fall into line. All other rules and regulations should be treated as assistants or servants to this one basic principle. So Sukadev Goswami has recommended to Parikshit Maharaj that in order to be fearless of death, one has to hear and chant and remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, by all means. He also mentions that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sarvatma. So that verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma, Bhagavan Harir Ishwara, Srotavya, Kirtitavya, Cha Smartavya, Chechata Bhayam. So Bhayam, Chechata, Ichata Bhayam means to be free from fear, especially fear of death, because we see that every living entities, they are afraid of death. Not only human, but every living entity. If we see like the sparrow on the street, while eating some grain maybe, so the sparrow will keep looking, all around whether there is some bigger animal will attack. And the human also, those who are rich, they hire security guard to protect them because they're afraid of death. So everybody is afraid of death. Death is uh, sorry, death is the biggest fear factor in this world, and in fact we cannot avoid that. So we cannot avoid that. Somehow or other death will come. Sarva mrityu sarva harashaham, Krishna said that. Krishna is death for those who are atheists, those who are the unbeliever. So Krishna will come in the form of death. So death will come anyway. We cannot avoid that. Jata shahi dhruva mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Tasmada pariharyete natvam suchitumarasi. So those who accept material body, that means those who take birth, death is for sure. And those who uh, die, birth is for sure if they don't go back home, back to God. So everybody is afraid of death. But here it is mentioned that Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Haririshwaraha Srotavya. If we continue the process of Sruta, remembering Srotavya, and then Kirtitavya, chanting, and then Smartavya, remembering. Sruta means hearing, sorry. Sruta, Kirtita, Smartavya. So hearing, chanting, and remembering. Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam. So by these two processes, Shravanam and Kirtanam, it will help us automatically to remember Krishna, Smaranam. So if we regularly engaging ourselves in these three processes, hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, Smartavya Chechatha Bhayam, will be free from fear, especially fear of death. So in this connection, Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that Krishna is called Sarvatma. Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma. That Bharata refers to Parikshit Maharaj. Sukadev Goswami addressing Parikshit Maharaj as Bharat because he is the descendant of Bharat, Bharat Maharaj. So Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma. Sarvatma means those who are situated in everybody's heart. Sarva Atma. Seems like the Paramatma. Sarvatma. Sarva means all, Atma means soul. So the Paramatma, Krishna, is the soul of all souls. So he accompanied the individual soul. This regulative principles is possible to all varnas and asramas, the castes and the occupations of life. Sorry, this is applicable. This regulative principle is applicable to all varnas and asramas, the castes and occupations of life. So the purpose of varnas rama also is to help us to remember Krishna. Samsidir Harito Sanam Ata Pumbir Dvijasrista Varnasram Vibhagasa Swanustita Siddharmasya Samsidir Harito Sanam. So to please Krishna. How we can please Krishna? By constantly remembering Krishna. Man Mana Bhava Bhakti. Krishna mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 2 times this verse. Yeah. So always remember Krishna. Man Mana Bhava Bhakti. The target of this activities, however, is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. He is the supreme enjoyer. Bhaktaram Yagya Tapasya, 5.29, the last verse of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. So, whether one is a Brahmana or a Sudra, one has to satisfy the Supreme Lord by one's activities. This is also confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam by a verse which reads, everyone must be engaged in his particular duty, but the perfection of such work should be tested by how far the Lord is satisfied with such activities. That verse I just quoted a few seconds ago. Yeah. Samsidir Haritosana. So Haritosa means to please Lord Hari, Lord Krishna. So in any activity, we have to contemplate that whether this is pleasing for Guru and Krishna or not. Yeah. So that is called bhakti. Bhakti means to please Krishna, not that to please ourselves. Sometimes also, while engaging ourselves in devotional service, we are choosing whatever easy for us, whatever pleasing to me. But as far as the order of spiritual master is concerned, so we have to do that to please Krishna. Sometimes we find a difficult situation, but Krishna will never give us a test by which we cannot overcome that test. So Krishna is looking at our ability to perform some service. So through the spiritual master, Krishna is giving us the service. And when we have faith with the order of the spiritual master, the empowerment is also there. So the empowerment of Lord Krishna comes through the order of the spiritual master. That means when the spiritual master giving us some order, so the empowerment is already there. Our duty is just to have faith with that service and perform it. Whether it is successful or not, it doesn't really matter. But the only thing is that, the main thing is that we just need to perform it with our full endeavor. So that will be very much pleasing, because in performance of devotional service, sometimes the result is not really matter for Krishna. What is really matter for Krishna? Our endeavor, how much effort we are putting while performing devotional service. That will be most appreciated by Krishna. Just like, for example, a rich person who own like $1 million, if he donates to the temple like $1,000, so he has $1 million, he donates $1,000. So that's great. Yeah, that's great. But those who possess, for example, $2,000 in in their bank account, and they donate like $1,000. So which one is more pleasing? Yeah, which one is more pleasing? Because for those who possess $1,000,000, $1,000 is nothing. That's like maybe 1%. I'm not so good in maths. So million, $1,000. But if we have $2,000 and we donate $1,000, you see, same amount being donated, thousand and thousand, but the effort, the effort is different. You know, another person who possesses $2,000 putting like 50% of what he has. So like that. So Krishna is much more pleased with one who would donate $1,000 who has $2,000 from the $2,000. So like that. So sometimes the result is not really matter for Krishna, but the effort is, you know, Krishna will look into our effort more, because the result, it just depends on Krishna again. If Krishna willing, so everything will be successful. This also interesting part. A Brahmana who is born out of the head of the Lord has as his business to preach the transcendental Vedic sounds, or Sabda Brahma, because the Brahmana is the head. He has to preach the transcendental sound, and he also has to eat on behalf of the Supreme Lord. This is an interesting part of this chapter. According to the Vedic injunction, when a Brahmana eats, it is to be understood that the Supreme, that the personality of Godhead is eating through him. It is not, however, it is not, however, that the Brahmana should simply eat on behalf of the Lord and not preach the message of Bhagavad Gita to the world. Actually, one who preaches the message of Gita is very dear to Krishna, as is confirmed in the Gita itself. This is toward the end, the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Nachatasman manusyechu kachit me priyakritamaha bhavitana chame tasman anya priyatharo bhuvi. Krishna mentioned that there is no other person more dear to me than those who preach Krishna consciousness. Nachatasman manusyechu kachit me priyakritamaha. Priya means very dear. So the preacher, very, very dear to Krishna. Therefore, when we feed the devotees, especially the preachers, that means actually we are uh, feeding Krishna. Of course, the devotees always offer the food to Krishna first, and then feed the devotees with Mahaprasadam. So it is, but in this connection, it is described that when we feed the Brahmanas, or especially the Vaisnava Brahmanas, or the devotees actually, when the devotees are served, Krishna is pleased. Such a preacher is factually a Brahmana, and thus by feeding him, one feeds the Supreme Lord directly. So it doesn't mean that we shouldn't offer anything to Krishna. We just need to feed the Brahmana. No, but when we feed the Brahmana, that means Krishna pleased with our attitude. This is called Vaishnava Bhojan Seva, feeding the devotees. In the Narada Pancharatra, the regulative principles of devotional service are described as follows. Any activities sanctioned in the revealed scriptures and aiming at the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are accepted by saintly teachers as the regulative principles of devotional service. If one regularly executes such service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, then gradually he rises to the platform of serving in pure love of God. So how to achieve Prema Bhakti? By keep going with the sadhana practice. By keep going with the sadhana practice. Then we'll come to the, by Vaidi, Sadhana Bhakti will come to the level of Raganuga Bhakti, and then gradually to Bhava Bhakti, and then Prema Bhakti. So Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra within Vina Aikantiki Harir Bhaktir Vatayaiva Kalpati. Even after achieving the level of Prema Bhakti, still we have to follow rules and regulation because it is described as Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharata Vidya. Aikantiki Harir Bhakti Utpatayaiva Kalpati. So if we don't follow rules and regulation while performing devotional service, it will create simply disturbance in the society. For example, a brahmachari or a sannyas, for example, a sannyas, for example, he's supposed to be very strict in his dealing, especially with the opposite sex, for example. But of course, if, even if they are in the transcendental platform, that means they are seeing all living beings equally. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Pandita Samadarsina. So seeing everybody as the spirit soul and part and parcel of Krishna. Still, he has to keep a distance. As a sannyas, he has to keep a distance with the opposite sex. Because if he is like, not keeping distance and freely mingle, although he is completely renounced person, so the society will judge. Society will judge. Therefore, even if one already in the level of Prema Bhakti, like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the ideal example of sannyas. When he took a sannyas, actually no woman are allowed to, come nearby Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So yeah, this is the concluding slide. This is a quotation from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. You do not require to become very rich man. The poorest of poor, the poorest of the poor can offer Krishna something. What is that? Patram puspam phalam toyam. Little flower, little fruit, a little leaf, a little water. Everyone can collect a little flower, a little water, and from any part of the world. Not that Krishna can be worshipped in India. Krishna can be worshipped in Vrindavan. Wherever Krishna is worshipped, that is Vrindavan. Otherwise, if Krishna is not worshipped, that is not Vrindavan. All right. So that's the end of this second chapter, the first stages of devotional service. So this is called sadhana. Yeah, sadhana bhakti. This is the first stage of devotional service. And that start by the chanting of the holy name as it is described by Srila Prabhupada in that book, Nectar of Devotion. Yeah? When we accept the holy name, that's how we begin. We start to revive our dormant love for Krishna, and we start engaging our senses in the service of Krishna and keep hearing, chanting, srotavya, kirtitavya, smartavya, and remembering Krishna. And this process, remembering Krishna, is the basic principles of our rules and regulation. All right. Whether any question or comments regarding the second chapter before we move ahead to the third chapter, this is your opportunity. Hare Krishna. Hmm. Any question, comments from any other bodies?
धन्यवाद प्रणम प्रभु जी.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Narasimha Prabhu. Yes, please.
Prabhu, I mean, it's not an authentic, but just I heard somewhere, it's under this sadhana bhakti, we have like a Vaidhi and Raganugam. So, but there is no, I mean, of course, from the Vaidhi we will be, after practicing, it will be coming to Raganuga. But it's not a hard and fast rule. Some people even directly, they will be directly at the Raganuga also. So is it possible, or I mean to say, it's a true Prabhu, the statement like there is no, it's not a mandatory, after Vaidhi only they will come to Raganuga. They mentioned like some places it's like a I mean, it's not a bona fide, but some like Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, they follow Raganuga, Vaidhi Bhakti, and Madhva Sampradaya, they follow like a Raganuga, something like that they quoted. But I just would like to say your thoughts. Sure, bro.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Whether it is mandatory before achieving attain the level of Raganuga that we have to follow YD. Um, in normal cases, yet yes, it is because it is part of the process. You know, unless you have your what do you call this samskara from the previous life, your good samskara from the previous life, you born in the devotee's family, so that becomes natural for you. But in most cases, like we are not born in the devotee's family, so we need some practice in order to uh, becomes habituated. Actually, this is applied in all cases, even in the material terms, even in the material sense. So we need some practice in the beginning before we get habituated and love that particular activities. So in bhakti also like that. So unless if you born in the devotee's family, then that's different thing. You know? But if you're not born in the devotee's family, so it is natural for us to force ourselves before we become habituated and we love what we are doing right now. Yeah. But those who born in the devotee's family, like from the very beginning of their life, they already, seeing kirtan, taking prasadam daily, and going for Mangalarati, like this. So for them, that is natural. For them, that is natural. But those who not born in the devotee's family, so for us, like, well, even for some foreigners, some devotees, foreigners that I met here, he said that when first time I came to ISKCON temple, so everybody's sitting on the floor when they honor prasadam, everybody's sitting on the floor, and the plate is put on the floor also. So for him, this is something that very weird, unnatural, completely unnatural, because he always sit on the chair and the food is on the table, right, and eating with a spoon. Now he comes to the ISKCON center, he sit on the floor, the prasadam on the floor, and he has to eat with hands, by hand, eating like this. So for him, that is like, whoa, something strange. But finally, he joined as a full-time devotee, and that becomes, normal for him, natural. So yeah, those who born in the Western culture, for example, like this, yeah. So to eat using hand and sitting on the floor, the plate on the floor, is completely unnatural. But for the Indians or those who are from the Eastern countries, like even in my countries, in Indonesia, to do like this, to sit on the floor and eating by hand, is something natural. So that's also depend on your samskar. Yeah. But in most cases, I would say yes. First, we have to follow YD, rules and regulation. Then naturally, it will come to the level of Raganuga, by which we love to go for Mangalarati. In the beginning, maybe we feel like, oh, why I have to get up early in the morning to go for Mangalarati? Why I have to chant 16 rounds? But as we are doing it, so finally, we love to do it because we have some understanding that this is pleasing for Krishna. In the beginning, we force ourselves, but as we are doing on a daily basis, on a regular basis, it becomes natural for us. So that's my response. Lakshmi
Thank
Nrsimha.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
Prabhu.
would say in general, we do follow YD first in order to come to the level of Raganuga. Yeah. In general. But in some special cases, maybe different. Just like those who have good fortune of being born in the devotee's family. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Were there any comments in that connection or any other questions regarding the second chapter? Anandamoy Gauranga Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ji. Do you have permission?
Your voice is breaking. Hare Krishna Prabhu, your voice is breaking.
Hare Krishna.
No,
Am I audible?
breaking. Maybe you can write on the chat. And
No. This breaking is okay then. No problem.
maybe you have to move somewhere or climb some building to get good network. I don't know. I am unable to hear you
I don't know.
clearly.
I'm just.
Mhm. Yeah, it disappeared. Okay. Okay. We shall continue with the third chapter.
So it's my internet problem maybe.
Yes, Prabhu, you can try to speak now. I can hear you.
Now you can hear.
Yeah, still breaking, but I can manage. Yes, please. You can continue.
It's okay. If it's breaking, then no use. Otherwise, it's okay.
All right.
Prabhuji side only the problem. Your voice is good, Prabhuji. Vishnudatta
Sorry?
Prabhu voice. Yeah. Your voice is good. Only the Prabhuji's voice maybe from his end only.
Yeah, yeah.
Anandamai his side only some problem.
Mhm. Okay, fine. If you want, Anandamoy Prabhu, if you want, you can chat. You write in the chat section and we will come to that. Okay. All right. Third chapter. The eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service. The prerequisite for beginning devotional service is attraction, rati, attraction, which is obtained by the mercy of the devotee. Advancement in Vaidhi sadhana bhakti depends on one's level of faith and knowledge of the scriptures. When one is free from the bodily concept of life while having the exclusive desire to serve Krishna, he is qualified to practice pure devotional service. Okay, so this is the hint of what we are going to discuss. This is the first paragraph. Yeah. On account of his association with Mahatmas or great souls, 100% in devotional service to the Lord, one may attain a little bit of attraction for Sri Krishna. But at the same time, one may remain very much attached to fruitive activities and material sense enjoyment, and not to be prepared to undergo the different types of renunciation. Such a person, if he has unflinching attraction to Krishna, becomes an eligible candidate for discharging devotional service. So here, very clear, what is Mahatmas? What is the meaning of Mahatma? Mahatma, great soul. Srila Prabhupada explained here. Those who surrender, those who engage in Krishna service, 100%. That means fully surrender to Krishna. 100%. This is Mahatma. Srila Prabhupada, whenever he talks about Mahatmas in his lectures, he would quote two specific verses from the ninth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Anybody would like to guess what are those two verses that Srila Prabhupada always quote when he talks about Mahatma?
Mahatmanas Mampardhavim Prakrudashit.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sripati Prabhu. And the another verse, that is one verse that Sripati Prabhu mentioned. Mahatmanas tumam
वासुदेवोऽपि सर्वं
partharai.
समाहात्मा सुदुर्लभः.
Yeah, that's that one. Thank you very much. Yeah. Bahunam janmanam ante. That verse. Jnanavanmam prapadyante vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So the first thing is that the Mahatmas, they are very rare. The great soul, very rare. And then the second one is that Mahatmana Sumamparta Daivi Prakriti. They're always under the protection of the Daivi Prakriti, or the internal potency of the Lord. Yeah. Why they are under the protection of the internal potency of the Lord? Because they always engage in Krishna service, 100%. 100%. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatanta chadridavrita namasyanta chamam nitya yukta upasati. So nitya means eternal. Nitya means constantly. So constantly engage in satatam kirtayanto, always chanting Krishna's name. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatanta chadridavrita, with full uh, determination, with great determination, Dhridavrata, great determination. No matter what happened, no matter what happened, he keep going with his service to Krishna. Any obstacle, no problem. He will surpass that obstacle. Dhridavrata, Namachantas, offering obeisances and becoming Krishna's devotee. So this is Mahatma. Thank you very much, Sripati Prabhu and Nagarjun Prabhu, for your contribution. So association, how we get the attraction to Krishna is by associating somehow or other, just getting contact with the devotees, getting very little association. That's how we start getting attracted to Krishna, by associating with the Mahatmas. Just like Narad Muni, he converted many sinners into great devotees just by slightly associating with Narad Muni, like Brigari or what is his name, Ratnakar. These are sinner actually. Ratnakar is a robber, Brigari is a hunter who loves to half kill the animal, to torture the animals before killing them. And he enjoyed this. So yeah, Prabhupada explained here that on account of his association with the Mahatmas, that's how we get attraction. So when we get attraction to Krishna, that's how we start our bhakti. We are eligible to perform devotional service if we have unflinching attraction. That means we're not losing our attraction. Because attraction means shraddha, or faith. Yeah, faith. Little faith. We get this faith by associating with the devotees, right? We gain faith from those who have faith. We have faith to Krishna from those who have faith. And when we have little faith, we associate more with the devotees. That, like this, it's actually interconnected between faith and sadhu sangha. So there are these 9 stages from shraddha to prema. But before getting shraddha, actually, we get it from sadhu sangha, little bit. Somehow or other, we get in touch with some devotees and we have some attraction. When we have some attraction toward Krishna, that means our faith is already manifest, although it is very little. And then when we have faith, we want to associate more with the devotees. When we associate more with the devotees, our faith will increase, will grow. And then, as we are associating with the devotees, and then the next will come bhajana kriya. The devotees will engage us in some service, and then anartha nivritti, the heart becomes purified. Then, nista becomes fixed in our service. So faith, we get the faith from association with the devotees. We get attraction by those who have attraction toward Krishna. Yeah. This attraction for Krishna consciousness in association with pure devotees is the sign of great fortune. It is confirmed by Lord Chaitanya that only the fortunate persons, by the mercy of both the bona fide spiritual master and Krishna, will get the seed of devotional service. Yeah, Brahmanda, Brahmite, Kona, Bhagyavan Jeev. Bhagya means, in Bengali, Bhagya means very fortunate. Bhagyavan Jeev, the fortunate soul. Brahmanda, Brahmite, Kona. After traveling up and down in this Brahmanda, in the egg, of Lord Brahma. This material universe is compared just like the egg, because the shape is also oval, not completely round like ball, but it's oval like egg. Brahmanda, up and down we are going, from heaven, earth, hell, and somehow or other, if we are fortunate, Bhagavanji, Guru Krishna Prasad, we get the association of devotees, spiritual master, Guru, and then followed by Krishna's mercy. So Krishna's mercy can be derived only through the spiritual master or through Krishna's devotee. That's why Guru Krishna Prasadi Hoy Bhakti Lata Vij. So when we get the mercy of Guru and Krishna's mercy, then Bhakti Lata. Bhakti Lata means the creeper of Bhakti. Bhakti Lata Bij. Bij means the seeds. So the seed will grow into Lata or into creeper. Bhakti Lata Bij. Yeah. First is association with the devotees. That's the sign of great fortune. In that verse, what is that? In the 18th chapter, Sanjaya concluded, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdara, Tatra Sri. He mentioned there Sri. Sri means opulence, but Sri also means fortune. That's why we call Goddess Lakshmi is Goddess of Fortune. So wherever there is Krishna and devotees, great devotees like Arjuna, so there will be certainly fortune. So that's the sign of greatest fortune, when we come in touch with the devotees, and ultimately the devotees will always bring us closer to Krishna. That's the real fortune. It's not that when we have, you know, uh, big fans or a lot of wealth like this, beautiful face. That's fortune, but that's material fortune that can be, uh, we can lose it at any time. We can lose all this material fortune at any time when our highest credit is exhausted. Then it will go, or sometimes it is forced. We have to leave it by force at the time of death. But the real fortune means when we meet the devotees, we get their association, because they will bring us toward Krishna. That's real fortune. Just like this hand, my hand considered to be unfortunate if I cut off my hand. So my hand will become useless, right? Will become rotten. But when my hand regains attached with the full body, then the hands will serve the full body. That's considered to be the greatest fortune for this hand. So similarly, because we are the Jiva Amsa, the part and parcel of Krishna, Pamayiva Amsa Jiva, part and parcel of Krishna, we've been trying to separate ourselves from Krishna for many, many years, many lifetimes, million lifetimes. But when we get the chance to reconnect our eternal relationship with Krishna, that's the greatest fortune. Srila Prabhupada talks also about these three levels of devotees: first class, second class, third class. So here I'm just paraphrasing Srila Prabhupada's statement regarding the first class. These are the symptoms: well versed in scriptures, so he can defeat the argument of the non-devotees or the atheists, knowing Krishna to be the ultimate goal and object of worship and love. So he has great love, strictly follow rules and regulation. You see, even the first class devotees, pure devotees, the Uttama Bhakta, they still follow the rules and regulation first, in order to not create disturbances in the society, we have discussed earlier. And also Yad Acharati Sreshtas, to give example for the general people. Yeah. And then firm faith, of course. Yes, firm faith. So this, I'm just taking it from Srila Prabhupada, what he explained in the Nectar of Devotion. But of course, we know that the first class Uttama Bhakta, they see that they themselves, not even devotees, but others, they are all devotees except me. That's how the Uttama Bhakta will see. Okay, and then second class, but the Madhyama, they have firm faith, very, very firm faith. but not very well versed in scriptures. Sometimes they fail to offer arguments toward the non-devotees or atheists, but still they will remain devotees. They will remain devotees because they have faith. So this is the second class. And then the third class, they don't have firm faith and they're not well versed at all. So they are very easily can be converted by others. That's why Srila Prabhupada mentioned that immediately one has to raise up on the platform of Madhyama Bhakta. Otherwise, there will be always chance to fall down. To fall down means to give up Krishna consciousness practice. That's the real meaning of fall down. Of course, sometimes we may fail to follow 1, 2, 3, or even all the four regulative principles. But if we don't give up Krishna consciousness practice, so we, continue our practice, that's not considered to be really fall down. Although it is a fall down, but it's just temporary. But real meaning of fall down means when we give up Krishna consciousness practice at all. That's why Srila Prabhupada recommends that at least we have to be immediately raised on the platform of second-class devotees. Because faith is matter. When we don't have firm faith, then it's easy for us to be converted by others and give up our practice. Archayam eva haraye pujam yashradhaye hate natad bhaktesu chanesu sabhakta prakrita smrita. So that is also the description given in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the third class devotees. They have faith only to the deities. Archayam eva haraye pujam yashradhaya. So they worship the deities with full faith, but they don't have faith with the devotees. This is another meaning also. Another symptoms of the neophyte or the third class. I mean, like real beginning, the third class, the Kanishta Bhakta, what call this? Prakrita Bhakta, Prakrita Bhakta. Prakrita and Kanishta is, they are not on the same level. Kanishta means they're already little advanced, but Prakrita means like very, very beginning, not even Kanishta. So Prakrita, Smrita, considered to be Prakrita. If we have only faith to the deities and not respecting the devotees, we just offer our obeisances to the deities, worshipping the deities, but we don't deal with the devotees properly. So that means we are considered to be even less than Kanishta. We are Prakrita. We heard the term Prakrita, Sahaja. That means we are pretender. Pretender means there's no faith. There's no faith. That means pretending. And further, Srila Prabhupada explained classification, not clarification, but classification. This English word sometimes twists my tongue. Further classification of the neophyte devotee is made in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is from 7.16. That verse. Chaturvida vajantemam jana sukriti norjuna artho jigyasu arthati gyani chabarata shaba. So these are the symptoms of neophyte. Of course, they are sukriti. Sukriti means they are pious. They are pious. That's why they are approaching Krishna, although with some motivation, like artha. Artha means desiring some material gain, wealth. But because these people are pious, so they approach Krishna, they approach God, they ask from God whatever they want. Compared to the non-pious people, when they have some desire, material desire, they don't approach Krishna, they don't approach God. Rather, in opposite, they will do some crime. For example, they will rob, they will steal. So they are not pious, they are sinners. Papa, papi, they are sinners. So Srila Prabhupada also giving example of each of these four. So the first one is Gajendra, Artha. Artha. Sorry, Artha means those who are suffering. Artharti means those who desiring wealth. Just to rectify my previous statement. So Artha means one who is suffering. So like Gajendra is suffering, so he's worshipping Krishna in order to be relieved from the jaws of this crocodile. And then Jigyashu, the inquisitive, or those who are searching for knowledge. The example is given the sages in Naimisharanya, headed by Sonaka. So what is that? Swadu, Swadu, Pade, Pade. That person is Srimad Bhagavatam. Unaya Sadhu. Vayam tuna vitripyama utama sloka vikrami yachrinvatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade. So yachrinvatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade pade. Please tell us again and again. As we are hearing, we get the taste, we get the rasa of hearing Krishna's pastimes. Please tell us again and again. Yeah. Uttama sloka, that verse. Uttama sloka means Krishna who is praised by chosen poetry, chosen verses, selective verses in the scripture. Jigyasu, and then Artharti. Srila Prabhupada gave the example. Dhruva Maharaj, desire wealth. And then Gyani, the Chaturkumara. Gyani means the wise, those who wise, those who know the truth. Of course, in the beginning, the Chaturkumara, they are Brahmavadi. They are Brahmavadi. So these are the example given by Srila Prabhupada, the neophyte devotees. But of course, I contemplate on this. How come all these great personalities considered to be neophyte? I'm thinking like that. Did you think also like that? Or I'm the only one who thinks like this? For example, like Dhruva Maharaj, he's performing, very severe austerities to please Krishna. We cannot do this. We cannot do this. But why Dhruva is considered to be neophyte devotee? Of course, because he has some material motivation. So in the beginning stage, he's not pure. How all these personalities becomes pure? Srila Prabhupada explained by the devotees association. Thus, they achieved the association of pure devotee and became pure devotees themselves. So that is the way of elevating oneself in whatever condition one may be. If he's fortunate enough to associate with pure devotees, then very quickly he is elevated to the second class or first class platform. Yeah, like Dhruva Maharaj, his heart was full of, material desire, desiring for wealth, and Gajendra desire to be, relieved from this pain of the jaws of the crocodile. Like, of course, amongst these four, the Srila Prabhupada explained the Jnani is the best. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada also explained that amongst these, even Krishna also mentioned in the 7th chapter, amongst these four, the Jnanis, they are the best because they are free from material desire. They know the truth. They know the truth that Aham Brahmasmi, I'm the spirit soul, I'm not this body, and they are completely free from material desire. So among these four, the Jnanis are the best, and the Jigyasu fall on the second level, I would say like that. And then the Artharti and the Artaha, they are like on the lower position. But still, all of them still will get the chance of becoming pure devotees when they engage in Krishna's service with the association of pure devotees. So how to become pure devotees? By associating ourselves with pure devotees. How you become drunkard? By associating yourself with drunkard. Tell me who is your friend, then I will tell you who are you. That's the principle. So according to with whom we are associating, so that will build our character naturally like that. Without being elevated to the position of a jnani or wise man, one cannot stick to the principle of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So those who have material desire, artharti, they engage in Krishna service. They still having some material motivation, but as they are performing devotional service, their heart purified. When the heart is purified, knowledge is they get more knowledge, because to understand uh, spiritual subject matter, our heart should be purified. You cannot really understand spiritual subject matter simply depending on how sharp your brain is, unless our heart is being purified. So we cannot really understand and realize the spiritual subject matter. So those who have material desire, they worship Krishna, and then of course they have some material motivation, kama sarva kamo, that doesn't matter whatever your motivation, keep worshiping Krishna. And then worshipping Krishna, of course, will purify the heart, even if you have material desire, because you are chanting Krishna's name, especially. So the Chetodarpana process, cleaning of the heart. And when your heart is purified, you will understand more. Oh yeah, actually this is useless. Just like Dhruva Maharaj. Sthana vilasi tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan deva munindra guyam kachan vichinvam apidivya ratnam swamin kritarthos mivaram nayachi. So now he's mentioning that kachan vichinvam, just like I'm so foolish, I'm just desiring all this material wealth, which is compared just like the broken pieces of glass, broken pieces of glass. It has no value. So material wealth has no value. After he got the darshan of Lord Vishnu, so he is lamenting. Sthana Vilas. Sthana means position. I desire a position even greater than Brahma. So this thing actually considered to be useless, just like broken pieces of glass. So what happened with Dhruva Maharaj? In the beginning, he has material desire to worship Krishna. His heart becomes purified. Now he becomes regret. That means he get the knowledge. Actually, this is not what I supposed to do. The proper thing is that I just worship Krishna without any material desire. So that's why Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that we have to come to the level of being a wise man. Then we can become, then we can stick to the principle of worshiping Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, Parasuram Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu,
Yes,
I am confusing a little bit upon Jigyasu and Gyani. Like both are in need of knowledge. The Gyani also in need of knowledge and Jigyasu also in need of knowledge. Like when Rupa Goswami approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asked, Ke ami kano mohe jayatapotroy. So he's already learned and he's approaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So will he be considered Jigyasu or Gyani?
he's already a devotee. Of course, when he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kiyami, who I am, I don't know my identity. Well, he's completely well versed in scriptures, actually. So he's asking on behalf of foolish people like me. So in the case of, Rupa Goswami, whether he's a Jigyasu or a Gyani, he's already on the platform, on the transcendental platform. He's just asking for the benefit of general mass. Regarding the Gyani and the Jigyasu, whether they are the same, Jigyasu means those who are hankering for knowledge. Gyani means the wise man, those who already have some knowledge. Those who already have some knowledge. And the inquisitive means, oh, I want to know. But the Gyani means they already have knowledge. Regarding Rupa Goswami is asking Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, well, I think it is in the same case like Arjuna is asking Krishna. Yeah, please tell me what I supposed to do. Tapanya doso pata swabhava, that verse. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do, because he's under Krishna's internal energy, the influence of the Yoga Maya potency of the Lord. So he's asking on behalf of all of us. So Rupa Goswami is asking Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who I am. So do we think that he doesn't know that he is the eternal servant of Krishna, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Otherwise, why he escaped from the service of Nawab Hussain Shah and just ran toward Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, surrender to him? Yeah, why? Of course, even before that, also before that meeting, you already know that even while engaged in the Nawab's service, in his own house, in his own quarter, he built the replica of Vrindavan, that is Kanaya Natasala. So he completely engaged in Krishna service. And why he's asking, who am I? What is my position? So Parasuram Prabhu, what do you say on this?
Still confusing, Prabhu. Prabhu, also this Prakashananda Saraswati, when they are all Mayavadis, and
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya goes and converts them into devotees. So they also ask questions to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like they are Gyanis, you may say, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that Mayavadi Bhashyas Sunile Hoy Sarvanash.
Should not listen to them.
So Jigyasu is better or Gyani is better?
Gyani here refers to the Brahmavadi, not to the Mayavadi. Okay. Mayavadi conception is like everything is false, everything is fake, everything is fake. But Brahmavadi means they have Brahman realization, but not in full. Well, who's better, Jigyasu or the Gyani? Well, Srila Prabhupada explained, and even Krishna also explained in the 7th chapter that amongst these 4, the Gyani is the best because they are devoid of material desire. So the Jigyasu, they are inquisitive, they are searching for knowledge. Maybe still confusing for you. Any other devotees would like to clarify Parasuram Prabhu's question, who's better? But yeah, Srila Prabhupada explained that the wise man, the Gyani is best, better, and Jigyasu falls into the 2nd level, and then Artha and Artha are on the 3rd level. Yeah, but Jigyasu, the Gyani, the wise man, they are completely free from material desire. Of course, in the case of Prakashananda Saraswati, he is a Mayavadi. We should not listen, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu command that we should not listen. Actually. But that is the difference. The Gyani, they already have knowledge, but the Jigyasu, they are searching for knowledge. So that's why it is considered that the Gyani is in the higher level, higher than the Jigyasu. Like the Chaturthi,
I think, Prabhu,
like the
example,
they are Brahmavadi. Brahmavadi, they have some realization on Brahman, that they are spiritual. Yes, Prabhu?
Yeah, I think the example you gave, Prabhu, of Suta Goswami asking, so in Naimisharanya, and they are like Jigyasu, but they are already, performing, and they are also mentioned as Goswamis. So they would be Gyani or Jigyasu, Prabhu. That is, I think, what is confusing me.
The sages in Naimisharanya are considered to be Jigyasu. They are inquisitive. They are wanting to hear more about Krishna. So Sonaka,
they are not Brahmavadi?
No, they are not Brahmavadi. They are inquisitive, searcher of knowledge. But that's why I mentioned, that's why I mentioned, how come all these people considered to be a neophyte? looking at their great effort, as I mentioned earlier, looking at their great effort, how Srila Prabhupada giving the example of becoming, they are all these beginner, neophyte means beginner, yeah. But how, seeing
Right,
their
Prabhu.
position, elevated position, they are all actually great souls.
Right, Prabhu.
That's why I mentioned like that. Am I the only one who think like that, or did you also think like that? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
But
Thank you, Prabhu.
the general understanding that I would say, the general line, the general principle here is that neophyte means when we are not completely pure. We still have some material motivation here and there. That's why it is considered to be neophyte. We are not completely pure. We are still beginning. That is considered to be neophyte. Like Dhruva Maharaj, in the beginning, he is not pure. And this also, Gajendra, in the beginning, is not pure. Even the Chatukumara also, in the beginning, they are not pure devotees. But then when we see, when Brahma ordered the Chatukumara to uh, continue the reproduction, so they rejected, right? Because they know the truth. They already know the truth. But at that time, they're not completely pure devotees. Before they smell this, tulasi aroma offered from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Tashyara Vinda Nayana Shapadara Vinda Kinjal Kamishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu. So when the breeze of that tulasi leaf entered to their nostril, then suddenly they transform, change into their body. So like this. But yeah, that's the general understanding, I would say like that. That's why Srila Prabhupada explained. They become pure devotees when they get the association of the devotees themselves. Where is that statement? Yeah, this. See? In whatever condition one may be, if he is fortunate enough to associate with pure devotees, then very quickly he's elevated to the second class or first class platform. Anyway, what time is it now? Time is off, but please let me continue for 5 minutes just to finish off this chapter. It can be concluded that a person who is freed from bodily concept of life is an eligible candidate for pure devotional service. That means the jnani, they are completely free from bodily concept of life. They don't have material desire. That's actually, I would say, a closest stepping stone toward pure devotional service. That's why Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, an eligible candidate for pure devotional service. Because when you don't have any more material desire, it's easy for you to completely surrender to Krishna. That's the idea. That's why the jnani is considered better than another three categories. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that after Brahman realization, when one is free from material anxieties, one can see every living entity on an equal level is eligible to enter into devotional service. So this is the verse in the 18th chapter, Brahma Bhutta Prashanatma Nasochatina. That verse. So the rest, after this statement, Srila Prabhupada just glorify the greatness of pure devotional service, that pure devotees will reject even liberation. Again, Srila Prabhupada making that point, emphasizing on the Moksha Laghutakrit, which is connected to the first chapter. Especially, of course, we don't say that devotees, they don't have interest in getting liberation. But when we say that devotees rejecting liberation, that's mainly specifically referring to the Sayujya Mukti, which is merging into Brahman. That's completely rejected by the devotees. All right, this is the concluding slide from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. So this movement, Krishna consciousness movement, is a process to give a chance everyone, just like we are holding this meeting, this class. It is a chance given to everyone to hear about Krishna, to learn about devotional service. And if it attracts him, if he says, yes, it is nice, then it is called Shraddha. So what is the eligibility to perform devotional service? Is by getting small attraction. Small attraction means faith, Shraddha, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned. Shraddha. How we get Shraddha? By associating, getting contact with Mahatmas or devotees of pure devotees of the Lord. So yeah, thank you very much. And forgive me to take your time 2 minutes more. So I'm finished here. Whether any last comment or questions before we close this session today? Hare Krishna. Okay, if there is no more, please study. Please read the next chapter, 4 and 5. And we will see you again. We'll meet again on Thursday. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Pasindubhya Evacha. Patitanam Panebhyo Vaishnavyo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.